Welcome back, Life Sciences. We are looking at how plants are able to reproduce, make more copies of themselves in two different kinds of ways. Asexual reproduction, where we have a more predictable outcome, and sexual reproduction, where we don't, right? Where we have these new combinations. Now we're going to have a look at a few questions on this section. I'm going to be honest with you, it's very difficult. The questions on this section usually link, right, to maybe sections that we looked at before on plant biodiversity, when we looked at the fern, angiosperms, gymnosperms, etc. And the section we're going to look at after this is on flowers. So very often when it comes to this, all right, to this reproduction of sexual and asexual, right, it's linked to a lot of the concepts that we're looking at, right, in plant reproduction. But I've put together two. They're very similar in nature, but they just give you an idea of what kind of concepts to look for. As I said, we could maybe add things when we've done all the sections together. Okay, the first question is a little bit of a reading piece, and I don't know if you've ever heard of them, right? We're talking about waterblommetjies. I know it's an Afrikaans term, but the word is either flakos or it's called, in English, it's called the pondweed, all right? And I know they don't look like flowers, but that is what they look like, right? These are actually flowers. I put a picture there just so that you can have it in your mind. Okay, let's read through it. They're flowers, all right? So if we look at the word flowers, I want you to start thinking about sexual reproduction. Have been used as a food source for many years, so we can eat them. The most common way in which waterblommetjie flowers are prepared is as a traditional Cape Malay dish, a lamb or mutton stew called waterblommetjie breedie. All right? The waterblommetjies are used as a vegetable in this dish. So we're just giving you an idea that we can actually eat the flowers. Now we're going to give you a little bit of more information. Plants grow in shallow dams. So guys, water, all right, that is a concept you need to, all right, think about, because it could come up in some of the questions. And you'll see at the bottom here that shows you where they grow, all right, and how they are harvested. Optimal growth take place in the water in temperatures of 14 degrees. Okay, that is quite cold. The seeds, here we go, are collected. Again, a reference to sexual reproduction, and left in the water during August to develop roots. Okay, so that is, they live in the water, the seeds are going to develop roots, and a new plant is going to be evolved. The small, now have a look, the small bulbs. Right, what do we know about a bulb? A bulb is a means of asexual reproduction. Right, so what happens is the seeds actually form bulbs. They then take the bulbs out and then they plant those bulbs individually in dams. Right, so what happens is asexual reproduction. The older bulbs with more than one eyelet, there we go, those eyes, remember, like the potatoes, are cut in half for higher production as each produces a new plant. So here, the eyelet, and we cut in half, no mention about male or female. Again, it's telling us about asexual reproduction. Right, our first question is nice and easy. Which part of the waterblommetjie is eaten by humans? Now, if we go back, right, if we have a look over here, it said there, flowers have been used as a food source. And it gave you quite a few ways in which it could, right? So which part of the plant? Nice and easy part there, it is the flowers. Okay, now the leading question. Which two modes of reproduction are used by the waterblommetjie? So we know that the two are asexual, that's the one, okay, and sexual. Now we've got our mark there for that. Now it says to you over here, list 2 reasons, and that means how were you able to come up with the answer that it was sexual or asexual. And you must use the passage, all right, for how you got your supporting answer. And it says here, list 2 reasons. So let's start off with the asexual. Now, if I go back, all right, to my asexual, where did I make my first connotation here? All right, they spoke about the small bulbs. So I'm going to go back to my question, and I notice bulbs. The plant produces bulbs. And what did these bulbs do? Right, let's carry on going back. What did they do? Okay, they grew, okay, the bulbs with more than one eyelet. So as the bulbs develop, what did we do? We cut the bulbs in half. We cut them in half, and we planted them, and new plants, all right, were formed. So there we go. That gave us the idea that there's asexual reproduction. Now we're looking for the concepts. Now let's have a look at our question, our little information about these bulbs. Okay, guys, so we know that bulbs are a way of asexual reproduction. And there's that word islets again. We had the same when we had our potatoes. All right, so when we look at our bulbs, what did we do? Right, we first of all, the small bulbs were taken out, and then they planted them into dams. The older bulbs were cut in half. All right, so what did we do? We cut the bulbs in half, and we planted them. Nothing to do with seeds. We cut them, and what did they give rise to? We planted them, and they gave rise to a new plant. No mention of seeds or flowers, etc. That was your key, the word bulbs. So if you don't know what the bulb is responsible for asexual reproduction, you might have missed that. Okay, now let's look at where it tells us sexual reproduction occurs. And there are 2 places, if we go back, right? I want to go back one more. First of all, a flower. They eat them, yes, but we know that reproduction occurs sexually because a flower is produced. Right, so the first thing we're going to look at, and just in case you might have missed this, have a look here. I'm going to go back. There's a diagram of a flower, and that tells us, all right, of that there's reproduction is going to occur sexually. So here we've got a flower, right, which we know is the reproductive sex organ. All right, so when we come to reproduction in flowers, it's the sex organ of the flower. Now have a look at our next one. Here they talk about the seeds, right? Seeds are the result of sexual reproduction. When the male and the female fuse, so our second point, seeds are produced. Okay, and seeds are only produced if you have a male and the female. So there we have telling us sexual, asexual, right, etc. Now, waterblommetjies live in dams that can easily dry up towards the end of a hot, dry summer. Remember they said only 14 degrees, nice and cold. Explain how the plant is adapted to survive. Now remember what we said when we go back to this concept, right? We looked at the concepts of seeds. The seeds are collected and left in the water. But a seed can remain dormant for a long time. So it says, explain how the plant is adapted, right? It has a seed, it forms a seed, should I say. What does the seed have around it? It has a seed coat. that can protect it. And what else do seeds do? They can remain dormant. That means they can just sit there until conditions, until conditions are favorable, or better. I'm going to write that because then writing favorable is going to test my spelling. So this concept again of a seed is produced during sexual reproduction. How is the seed, dispersed? Remember I said to you, one of the things about the seed is it can go far away from the parents. Guys, where do waterblommetjies? All right, there we go. Waterblommetjie, where are they? So what is going to take it away? It's going to be the water. Right, just looking into things, seeing if you can understand that concept. Okay, the next concept, the next question we're going to look at is about a potato. Now, potato, there's words that you've got here. Look here, there's a rhizome, we know is an underground stem. Right here is a flower. So again, we are looking at asexual, and the flower going to be a means of sexual reproduction. Remember what I said to you, plants don't necessarily have one. Now this concept of the flower I've taken out of the question, but you would need to know, our next segment we're going to look at the flower, so you would need to be able to label it, as I said, the interconnectedness of all the questions. Okay, let's read the question. The potato tuber we know, asexual, all right, produces eyes, which then grow into new plants. So we know asexual reproduction. The plant grows an area stem, which give rise to flowers. Look at the same concept again, that range in color from light to dark purple. The plant will also grow an underground stem that will develop new tubers, asexual reproduction. Some variety of potatoes, flowers self-pollinate. We're not going to look at it now. When we look at the question on pollination, basically means it pollinates itself, right? Green, round, poisonous fruits are produced after flowering, and each fruit contains about 300 seeds. So again, we're looking at the potato, all right, how it can undergo sexual and asexual. Now, if we go again, it says to us, discuss how the potato undergoes asexual reproduction. So we go and we have a look, guys, and we can quote directly from the text. The potato tuber produces eyes which planted grow into new plants. So asexual reproduction, it's got tubers. And on those tubers, it has eyes, and those eyes are going to grow into new plants. All right, so again, recognizing the word tubers, the previous question was bulbs. Sexual reproduction, two things again. Actually, there's more than two, right? There's a few things that you could have taken here. One, it had flowers that produced fruit. That is sexual reproduction. Or it produced seeds. And it said when it got to the flowers, it spoke about pollination, which means taking the male sex cell to the female sex cell. So we got a whole variety, all right, of references leading to sexual reproduction. Give two advantages of sexual reproduction in the potato, all right, advantages of asexual. Any of them could have been, it's quick, all right, it's less energy. There's a whole list that we had, all right, it is cheap. Okay, favorable traits can be passed on quickly. There was a whole lot that you could have used there and give any two advantages. All right, the last question, would you eat the fruit? The answer was no. If we go back, you'll see what did they tell you? The fruit is poisonous. Right. Okay, guys, that is all that we have for today. Right, so make sure you know asexual reproduction, predictable sexual reproduction. Who knows what we will get? Until next time, cheery bye.